Never too early to think NFL draft. Oregon defensive end Kayvon Thibodeaux is number one in Todd McShay's top 32 prospects. He has 4 sacks in 5 games this season. Right behind him is LSU corner Derek Stingley Jr. After he had 6 interceptions in 2019, he hasn't had any over the last 2 seasons, but is holding quarterbacks under a 30 completion percentage as the primary defender. You have to scroll down to number 6 to find Todd McShay's top quarterback, Liberty's Malik Willis. He ranks 7th in the FBS and QBR, but isn't even in Mel Kiper's top 25. We're going to get to see him against Ole Miss November 6th. For more, we welcome in the incomparable NFL draft analyst, Todd McShay. What's going on, Todd? Okay, so I have to say that, because now I have to say, Mel is not as high on Malik Willis as you are. Why is he your top quarterback prospect?
Mel's watching the wrong tape, I think. Maybe the last 2 weeks when he's been dinged up and he left for the last game. But to me, when you watch Willis on tape, and I know it's Liberty and it's not great competition that he's facing, but he reminds me a lot of Kyler Murray. You know, that electricity that he brings to an offense, the ability to extend plays, his foot quickness, his suddenness, and then outside the pocket. You should watch just a highlight reel to get a sense of what this guy can do. Throwing off platform, off balance, driving the ball 30, 40 yards down the field on a rope and sticking it into tight spots. I think he's clearly the most physically gifted of the quarterbacks in this year's class, and that includes guys that we talked about, like Spencer Rattler from Oklahoma coming into the year as a potential number 1 who got benched, and Sam Howell, the UNC quarterback, who really has struggled this year as well. I think Willis has played himself into the position to be the first quarterback off the board, and he's done it because, A, what he does on the field and his tools, and B, because every scout I've talked to says that this guy, despite playing at Liberty, is NFL ready, has great football intelligence, and has great character that you want to bring in your locker room.
Okay, so the Eagles drafted Jalen Hurts in the 2nd round of the 2020 draft, but Philly potentially could have 3 top 15 picks next year. Todd, would Willis be an upgrade over Jalen Hurts?
I think so. I really do. And obviously, when you look at the situation in Philadelphia, Hurts has not been the main problem and the reason that they've been held back this year, but he's not the solution moving forward, in my opinion. If you're trying to win a championship, Jalen Hurts is not the guy that you're hitching your wagon to. I think a guy like Willis, who brings more, electricity, a more dynamic throwing ability, more dynamic running ability. I just think Willis brings more to the table in terms of the skill set, and could be a guy that takes that offense to the next level that it's been waiting to go. And then you still have 2 other first-round picks after that, if Philly's in position to get Willis with their first of 3 first-round picks, to go get a defensive lineman, to go get a linebacker like Nakobe Dean from Georgia, and really solidify that defensive side with more athleticism and more firepower.
Yeah, and maybe he won't leave as many plays on the field as Jalen Hurts. I mean, Jalen's holding that ball, waiting for guys to get open. Jalen, you got to throw him open. Okay, your top overall prospect is Oregon defensive end Kayvon Thibodeaux. What NFL player is the comp here? Who does he remind you of with his pass rushing skills?
Going back to Jadeveon Clowney when he was coming out of South Carolina, and I know he hasn't had the elite career and consistency, but when you look at it, he had, I think, 17 sacks over a 3-year span just a few years ago. And they're very similar players in terms of quickness and power and length. And, Clowney was 6'5", 258 coming out of college. Thibodeaux is 6'5", 255 right now. They both have those long arms. They're able to drive offensive linemen back. They both have that great dip and rip move, and they also can work inside as pass rushers, that outside in move, because they're so long and powerful. And you just look at what Thibodeaux's done. In 2021, this season, he already has 7.5 tackles for loss and 4 sacks and 3 forced fumbles. And in the upset against UCLA this past week, he took off. I mean, if you want to watch one game, study that UCLA game. He had 4.5 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, and a forced fumble. He was absolutely dominant on that side of the ball, and that's what you hope you get if you're Jacksonville or the Jets or any number of teams picking at number 1. You want that special elite player, and Thibodeaux is clearly the number 1 prospect in the 2022 draft class.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.